Hello, everyone. Welcome along to another VCO Esports Studio with myself, Ben Constanduros. As you know, we love to merge the real world and virtual worlds, and we like to meet the people that are doing that, whether it be championship organizers or drivers. And we haven't really done too much on off-road simulations. So I was always trying to get somebody to come along and thinking who would be the best person. And then a certain Mr. Jon Armstrong only went and won the first round of the Junior World Championship in Croatia in the real world, having taken the esports world, what was it, 2 years ago? So he is the master of off-road merging virtual and real. Jon, you must be still buzzing from that victory last weekend.
Yeah, still buzzing, Ben. Pretty crazy to go to the first round of the Junior World Championship. Obviously in the real life motorsport, and to come away with the victory is more than I could have hoped for. And yeah, it's just crazy.
So, big question: what came first, real world driving or sim driving?
It's one of those things. It's hard to call because I was always playing games from a young age, like most people do now. But for sure, my competitive motorsport in real world started before the competitive esports. I started doing like rally sprints in Ireland from the age of 13. So I started quite young doing real life motorsport, and I carried that through. Once I got my real life driving license, I could do the real proper rallies, and yeah, I'd done that for years. Made it all the way up to WRC 2 level, which is one category down from the top tier. And then ran out of budget, so I turned to esports at that point. Done the 2018 WRC esports and managed to be champion that year. I think you'll remember a very sweaty Jon sat there, Ben, at the final. But yeah, we managed to win it. And then the following year, I done the esports again, came second to Nexel, was pipped that year. And yeah, I've been trying to find a way back into real life rallying ever since, because that's you know, my number one love is rallying in real life, and I love playing esports and sim driving to keep sharp. So yeah, managed to find a way back into real life motorsport with the help of Codemasters and the Codemasters Dirt Rally team that we set up. So yeah, it's really nice to be back.
Yeah, we're going to have to pull apart that whole answer and digest it individually. So let's go back to the 2018. I was trying to work out which one it was. 2018 WRC Esports Championship, and it wasn't like you've been doing it for a few years, was it? You saw the competition from the year before and were like, oh, that's a good idea whilst I'm not in a real car.
Yeah, 100%. That's totally how the thought process came about. I was struggling for budget for real life. I watched the esports final from 2017, and I was like, yeah, I quite fancy giving that a go. And I started training on the game. I think it was WRC 7, I think. And
6, 7, yeah.
yeah, and I just started training, and the way that I got up to speed was just trying to match the time trial times of the guys who were in the final the previous year. And then, of course, the structure of that championship is you do lots of rallies from home, and you score championship points, and then the top 8 go through to the grand final, which is at a venue of choice, and this was in the service park of Rally Germany 2018. And yeah, I've never been the fastest from home, but once I got to the final, and it was a big venue, a big sporting event, I just really focused on myself and trying to, you know, get the most performance from the car and tracks that they had selected. I seem to remember the final 3 stages we had to use default setup only. So I remember practicing loads before traveling to Germany. I remember practicing loads on the default setup just so I could get a really good feel for the car, and it allowed me to tune the force feedback with my Thrustmaster wheel to suit the default setup, so I could be really comfortable pushing with that in the final. And yeah, it seemed to pay off, and it was fantastic to be a world champion.
I imagine, though, when we talk to all these different drivers about realism, about transferable skills from virtual to real, when it comes to rallying, there must be a massive element that is missing in a virtual world that you would normally have in a real world.
Yeah, you know, everything is becoming closer and closer. Every new rally game that comes out, there's something that's one step closer to it being more realistic and the experience being as real as it is in real life. But yeah, for sure in esports, you know, you're learning every corner like a racetrack, which you don't do in real life. Obviously, you've got a co-driver in real life that you're listening to, and it's really hard to learn every corner in real life because, you know, some stages are 30 something kilometers and then you go straight into another 2 stages afterwards. So you really have to work on your pace notes. But yeah, the top drivers in esports, they're learning the tracks like a racing driver, and you're searching for tenths on every corner, and you know, trying to maximize your lines and how much cutting you can do, things like that. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things. I always try to enjoy my sim rally driving, so you know, I would always prefer driving the likes of Dirt Rally 2.0 just to try and get a feel for what it's like. You know, try to use that in a realistic way. So, you know, try to just go to lots of different stages that I haven't been practicing and just listen to the co-driver, because it can be a really nice way just to get your brain working again for real life events. You know, go into a stage, you don't know what's coming up, listen to the co-driver in game, and it's just a brilliant way to train. And I also really like using VR whenever I am training with a simulator. You know, it gives me a nice perspective of sitting in the driver's seat, and you know, when you come around a corner going sideways, you can look out the side window as you would in real life. You know, try and follow the road as you do. So yeah, I think you need to look at the positives of the games that you're playing and try to make it as realistic as you can, if that makes sense. And yeah, of course they're getting more and more realistic as the development phases in these games happen.
You talk about realism in terms of listening to your co-driver. Does that mean when you're participating in the finals of something like WRC, you're not actually even using the co-driver because you've learned the stage totally?
Yeah, 100%. You know, you've learned the stage inside out. At that point, you could almost kick the co-driver out and save a bit of weight if
Yeah.
it did save you weight in the game. But the only thing I can think of that is a benefit is if you do, you know, come to a point in the stage and you slightly forget where you are, then you can listen to the co-driver. Also, in circuit racing, you're looking for reference points as when you brake and when you turn into a corner. And sometimes you can actually use the co-driver calls for that because they're triggered pretty much the same time every time you do a stage. So you can start to learn when the co-driver says, you know, 6 right, and you're coming into a tighter corner, you're like, your brain starts to learn, okay, I need to do this on the 6 right, I need to brake just straight after it. So you can use the co-driver to your benefit in esports, but it's nowhere the same as what you do in real life. Obviously, the information that you're hearing in real life, you're just using that to go to judge how fast you can go around the corner.
And from that victory in WRC, that kind of kicked off the world that you now live in, if I'm not mistaken. That you were you ended up being part of the Codemasters and Dirt team.
Yeah, it's I think it's a bit of a, you know, a funny story because I think a lot of people think I got the job in Codemasters after winning the esports, but it was actually the other way around. I just joined
Ah,
Codemasters before
okay.
doing the esports final. But I was still I was still kind of being quiet about working for Codemasters because I wasn't sure what people would think then going to do a esports final in their competitor's game. But it was all totally fine. But for sure, like the sim racing and esports and gaming side of things has really kicked off a totally different career path for me, and I've totally reinvented myself as a person, and now it's resulted in me being able to go back and do the thing that I love, which is driving rally cars. And obviously over the course of the last 2 3 years, I've learned a lot more about media skills and you know, a return on investment for my sponsors, and trying to, give them what they need so that I can be able to do what I want to as well.
So many people think that sponsorship is a company giving you money to go and have fun, whereas actually it's very much a two-way partnership where you really have to offer something to that sponsor. Get to how that partnership came about in a few moments, but let's go into a little bit. What's your role within Dirt Rally and your responsibilities for Dirt Rally 2, for instance, which is kind of the latest thing that you've been involved with? Because what I didn't realize, and I don't know how many people do realize, Dirt Rally is different to the other dirt platform that Codemasters put together.
Yeah, so whenever I joined Codemasters, I was sort of called a rally consultant. I was brought in to help with the development of the game as a whole, and also be like an encyclopedia for the whole studio, to just ask me questions to make sure that what we are making is true to real life and is realistic. So that's basically what my role was when I joined. But now I've sort of broken off into a specific team, which is the design team. So the Dirt Rally design team. And we are a team that comes up with all the aspects of the game. So the game modes, the car list, the locations we're going to have in game. Basically, the whole design phase of the game is done by our team. So I'm given specific responsibilities of modes to design, and also other aspects like the pace notes. I'm responsible for looking after all of that. But also, yeah, I still keep all of my old sort of responsibilities too, of being like the encyclopedia, the rally guy. If anyone needs to ask any questions, they can come to me. So I do a lot of different things, and it's very nice because every day you're doing something a little bit different. So yeah, really, really enjoy it.
And it sounds as though, therefore, the realism part of Dirt is incredibly important, despite the fact that you would, in my brain, I think, well, WRC needs to be realistic because it's related to a championship. Well, actually, you possibly, well, you'll definitely agree with me, knowing who you are working for. The feel of Dirt is far more realistic than the feel of WRC as a game.
Yeah, 100%. We have to balance between the hardcore people who want pure simulation, and also we have to cater for everyone that's playing on PlayStation or Xbox with just a controller. And I think that's something we do really well. For a rally driver who plays the game, they can get a really nice sense of driving, or what it feels like in real life to drive a rally car. They can get that from the game as well. And we've got myself and Ryan Champion feeding back to the car handling team. And one of the big benefits of Ryan is that he's driven so many of these cars, like the historic cars. So to make each car feel unique and how it should feel compared to what you see in videos, it's perfect having someone like Ryan who's driven so many of those cars. So yeah, our focus is on making it as realistic as we can. But also we have to remember that this is a mainstream AAA game, and that it can't be super difficult, that your average Joe can't make it from A to B down a stage. So yeah, it's always tricky balance, but I think we hit it really, really nice. It feels super realistic for me to drive it with no assists on, but if someone just coming into it that's quite new, they like the challenge of how realistic it is, but also they can start off in like a slower car. They can have some of the driving assists on, and then going back to your other question, sorry about the dirt number titles. You're quite right; they're like a completely different thing now. With Dirt Rally being its own identity, that's the hardcore rally game, and then the dirt numbered games, they're more of it's hard to put a correct word on it, but they're more of a fun game. You know, you've got everything going on, all the crazy stuff, and yeah, I enjoy playing that as well.
But you're ultimately only responsible for the rally side of things, and they are two separate teams.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You know, there's two separate teams. In fact, I'm in the Southam studio of Codemasters, which is the HQ, and the dirt numbered games, they're being made in Runcorn. So yeah, two completely different studios.
And I imagine, talking about realism, we talk so much about feel when you're driving a rally car, knowing, especially in a front wheel drive car as you're driving this year, knowing when that rear is going to be moving around and losing traction, especially on a surface like gravel. Therefore, I imagine it would be much, much harder for your average Joe to jump into a simulated version of a rally environment, because you don't have that seat in the bum movement that you do in the real world, and it's more important in rally than it is in circuit racing.
Yeah, I think that's one part of simulators in general, you know, racing simulators, rally simulators, that is so hard to achieve, is that sort of G-force and the moving around of the car. But obviously with the equipment that we have, so if you've got a steering wheel, you're able to get the feedback through that, because as game developers, we're specifically trying to feed back certain things through the steering wheel. So yeah, it's a little bit different from real life for sure, but you can still feel some of the characteristics of what you need to through the force feedback of your steering wheel. And also, I think you start to learn it visually from the game, which is why I think I like VR, because you get a lot more visual reference for what the car is doing. So yeah, I've seen some real drivers who try to play you know, simulators or racing games, who actually play from the chase camera. I think Oliver Solberg is a good example, because he likes to see what the car is doing. So that, I think that's the biggest aspect that is difficult to transfer onto a simulator, is that feeling of what the car is doing. But I think the force feedback does a really good job of that, and then the rest is sort of a visual compromise, which perhaps even helps you in real life. But yeah, for sure, in a real life front wheel drive car, you're feeling what the steering wheel is doing, and you're mainly trying to feel for any slip on the tire. And of course, if you do go sideways, then you're going to feel that really, really quickly, as you do with the force feedback.
Okay, so let's talk a bit more about this year then in the real world. How did the Dirt Rally team come about? Because I don't think in my lifetime I can think of any other game that sponsors a real world team car.
Yeah, I mean, it all came about from me being an employee in Codemasters, and after I had a bad start to the 2020 season in the Junior WRC, had a pretty.
By the way, when you say bad,
big
yeah,
accident.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably the biggest accident I've ever had, and it was quite a scary one. So yeah, at that point, you know, I think I was questioning myself, and a lot of other people were questioning if you know, I was capable of being a real rally driver. So for about, you know, 3 or 4 months after the accident, I was everyone was in lockdown. It was like, you know, March 2020. And I was just thinking, well, that's probably it. I don't really see how I can come back from this crash and how I can get the financials. But after, you know, those 2 or 3 months, I thought, well, maybe I should just give it one last try. And with me working in Codemasters, it was probably my only route because obviously they're a big company, and yeah, I just had to try and work with the marketing team. So initial talk started with them in the marketing team. We came up with some plans, and it became apparent quickly that they wanted to work towards something for the following year. So yeah, we just put together our plans. We pitched it to the top dogs as they are, and finally, after lots and lots of work, we got the idea approved. And as you say, it's something quite different. We don't really see massive gaming companies that manufacture games, especially in racing, sponsor, you know, real teams. Yeah. You see it a little bit, but probably not the main sponsor. So it's something super cool, something I'm very proud of to achieve in the first place, and then to go and win the first rally. It just made it feel all worth it, and it just seemed like everything came together to be a perfect story.
Why are they not just a sticker on the car and a color scheme? Why is it the Dirt Rally team, even if perhaps that's only a couple of people?
Well, I think you know, it's obviously a marketing program, so that's where the sort of team aspect came of it. And also, you know, I'm getting loads of support internally in terms of marketing support and just help with the overall organization of the championship. Of course, there's an element of surprise behind it all, which will probably become apparent in the future. But yeah, I think it's very smart what we're doing, and it certainly made a few people question what we're doing. And you know, for now, it just looks proper cool and crazy, and you know, it's something that I believe people want to see. You know, whenever all our customers are spending so much money to invest in what we make, I think it's good to give them back something a little bit different. You know, they also watch the real sport. You know, they're rally fans, and they're rally fans that want to be drivers, but they probably can't afford to. So they're buying our game. They're getting their buzz from playing the game. So it's good to show that we are reinvesting slightly into the real sport, even though it's through me. It's something really cool to see, and you know, who knows where it'll go in the future. We've seen all sorts of things like the FIA Rally Star, which has just started now, which is designed to find gamers and bring them through all the way into Junior WRC, like I am. So I think it's brilliant to see. It's a massive industry, and it's really good to see that ourselves and also the FIA Rally Star are putting something back into the sport.
And even more so, this, because of your participation in Junior WRC, you will be in the next WRC 10 game, sponsored by Dirt, or kind of. I think politically is the right way to put it. But that's kind of nuts to be modelled in a game, whether it's yours or somebody else's.
Yeah, it's a bit surreal. You know, I've been in Dirt Rally 2.0 as a actual playable character, and I was in the last iteration of the WRC game, and yeah, I'll also be in the new one too. So, you know, it's a dream come true, really, to be working for Codemasters as an employee, to be driving for them in real life, and just to be involved in motorsport and gaming. You know, my two number one loves, is crazy. You know, if I had told myself that whenever I was 5 years old, I would have gone crazy around the place. But yeah, it's really, really cool.
Life is looking good, and you got into your first round of the championship in Croatia last weekend, and took away that trophy that I think is just beside you. Tell us how that kind of weekend went for you.
Yeah, I'll show you the trophy. It's pretty massive. I think you were actually you were the announcer for the trophy, weren't you?
I
I think you
was,
were.
yeah.
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 So yeah, the event was crazy, super tricky. Roads in Croatia, very muddy and gravelly. And of course, we were on full tarmac setup, tarmac suspension and tires. So it's quite a bit different than doing circuit racing on tarmac. You know, you've got a lot less grip, and you have to be cautious of all the dirt that's being pulled out by the main WRC crews. Of course, they have gravel crews who tell them where all the dirt's going to be, but we don't have that. We're not allowed it, so we have to go into the stages completely blind, and the only thing we can do is try and pick up on the recce where we think all the cuts are going to be, so we can be better prepared. But yeah, I made a pretty chilled out start to the rally. Just didn't want to force myself into going too fast, and we were pretty slow at the start. Picked up our pace throughout day one, and then day two picked up our pace even more. Found ourselves in the lead after a couple of guys in front of us had self-inflicted issues, and then yeah, we just once we got into the lead, I sort of had those instincts that I've learned through some of the previous championships I've done in real rallying, and just tried to push as much as I could without taking too many risks. And then on Sunday, Sunday morning's actually really difficult because I had a 22-second lead, but the first stage in the morning is 25k. You could easily lose a second per kilometer if you're taking it too easy. So I pushed on the morning loop and managed to take time out of my nearest competitors to extend my lead. So I was really happy to do that. And then through the power stage, just had to take it easy, and yeah, lost a little bit of time, but we had 38 seconds going into it, and yeah, we only lost about 6, I think, to second place. So yeah, it was a tough weekend, but I think I'd done a good job, a smart drive, and to come away with the victory was amazing. And as you know, Ben, we even had a little bit of a slow puncher on the last stage, but I don't think that affected us too much. And that's the thing about rallying, is you need a element of luck as well. So yeah, thankfully that was with us at the weekend.
And your relationship with your co-driver, who is so vital in real world rallying, kind of blossomed through sim racing. Did you do some rallies where you got him to call the notes whilst we were in lockdown, and you were driving to his notes, but virtually?
Yeah, we started making some videos on YouTube of us basically using Dirt Rally 2.0, picking a stage, driving through the stage, making some pace notes like a normal recce, and then we would hit it flat out. With Phil calling pace notes. So it was a really nice way to start the relationship. And then yeah, once I started working on the program for the real rallying this year, very quickly Phil was the number one candidate to be my co-driver, and our relationship's been going really well. It was nice to do our first event together in Croatia. Um, it can be very difficult to have a new co-driver because you do build up such a strong relationship with them, and over the course of the event we were getting better and better. I think after each stage on the road sections we were like almost having a mini debrief, just trying to figure out how we can improve what we're doing, how Phil can improve the delivery of the notes, and some basic feedback from my end of what I would like to change. And yeah, it worked really nicely, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing more and more events with Phil.
Awesome, Jon. Thank you so much for chatting with us. It's we could go on for hours, but we'll save that for a beer next time we see you and celebrate your victory properly. I haven't left Croatia yet, by the way. If anybody's wondering why I don't have my VCO top on, it's because I'm still in Croatia on holiday, and it's a very nice place to have a holiday as well. But great to have Jon with us. Congratulations on the Junior WRC victory. When's the next rally? Is it a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, the next rally is Rally Portugal, which is I think it's like the 23rd or something that weekend. So just around the corner. So no time to rest. Need to keep working hard.
Amazing. And you can follow everything that Junior WRC do, as well as Jon, on various Twitter and social media handles. And of course, he's got a great YouTube channel as well, and has a huge responsibility for Dirt Rally 2.0 and whatever's happening in the future, of course, because Codemasters has the deal for WRC in a few years' time. So he's going to be a man who's very important. Thank you very much, Jon, for chatting with us once more.
Thank you very much.
As you know, VCO Chat Show, we never know who's going to be chatting to us next week, but do make sure you tune in Monday, 8 o'clock, and I will be here with a friend. Until then, safe racing.